How's it going, guys? Just getting ready to do a review on the Vortex Viper PST scopes. Just fantastic scopes. Look for that here in the very near future. When I pulled out a couple rifles and I kind of got thinking about the idea between a magnified and a non-magnified optic for your fighting rifles. And so I thought I would throw a couple out here for you and just talk a little bit about the differences between the two. What I have before you is I have the Smith & Wesson M&P 15, and on top of that is the EOTech 552. This EOTech is the AA version, and it also has night vision capability. And then above that, we have the Project SPR, which if you guys are new to my channel, I've done a whole series on the build process and functionality process of the Project SPR. So you guys can check that out if you want. The optic that we're running on top of this is a Vortex Viper PST, and this one is the 2.5 power to 10 power by 44 millimeter objective, and it's got an illuminated reticle. It's just a fantastic scope, and it's one that I've really come to trust and enjoy. And anyway, and what I like about this scope, most of your traditional hunting style scopes are going to be like 3 to 9 power. This one stretches out a little further. It goes down to as far as 2.5, but it goes up to 10. And you know, really the 5.56 or 2.23 cartridge is going to be, you know, effective shots are going to be 1,000 yards or less with that particular cartridge. And really, if you're shooting military 55 grain or 62 grain military ball, your effective distance is really going to be 800 yards or less, really. And so you don't really need a super high-powered scope in order to make effective shots and accurate shots out to 800 yards. So for the most part, I think a 10-power scope is more than adequate for a 5.56 or a 2.23. But what's also nice is that it goes down to as low as 2.5 power. And that, you know, like I've done various different like time drills and stuff like that with 2.5 power. And you know, really at 50 yards, it's anything less than 50 yards, it's really hard to be fast with this scope. 2.5 power, I mean, it's right around 50 yards is where your field of view is large enough where you can make fast shots. And so, you know, you're not going to be doing a lot of really close-up fighting with a 2.5 power. What I'd like to do with the Project SPR is right now I have Troy flip-up iron sights. And what I'd like to do is actually put a set of like canted 3-gun sights on it. And I think that would really make it a lot better setup. For those of you guys that don't know what that is, a canted setup is actually where you kind of cant the rifle to the side and there's a pair of exposed iron sights there. And it allows you to make faster shots at closer range. And that would really kind of, I think, complete the setup as it stands. But that's for a future date. But before I get too far off the mark here, let's talk about each one of these rifle strengths. You know, really the rifles themselves, even if they were completely identical to each other, when you place an optic on top of that rifle, you change the dynamic, the role in which each of those rifles kind of lies in. If we've learned nothing else from the last decade or more of U.S. military conflict, and I'm not a member of the military, those of you that are can obviously weigh in more heavily with this topic here. But in Afghanistan, our military has really run into an environment that's kind of different than a lot of the environments we've been in the past. It's very wide open. It's very mountainous. You're covering vast distances, and I think that the military has gained a greater appreciation for the designated marksman, especially the magnified optic, and being able to reach out and put precise, accurate shots on target. You know, snipers have always been used, well, designated marksman's always been used as well, but I think in that kind of arena, especially Afghanistan, where we really understand where the strengths of that magnified or designated marksman or sniper style rifle comes into play. So for those, like I said, for those of you guys that are in the military, roll down in the comments and talk a little bit more about it, because you guys can really add the value to the conversation. But you know, like we've seen that these things we've seen where the strengths of this the DM rifle, the designated marksman rifle, kind of comes into play. And like areas the areas in which I live in are very similar to those of like Afghanistan. We have a lot of open area, very little forest, high desert. You can see for a very long way, and so that's really where this strength is in the magnified optic. Whereas in the flip side to that, the dot sight is really reigns supreme in close quarter combat. It's the most effective, it's the fastest optic or the fastest sight system that you can put on a rifle for CQB work, no doubt. I mean, even iron sights, you're slower with iron sights, you just are. A dot sight, you just pull up, you see the dot, you pull the trigger, you're good to go. And so with the EOTech, I've had extensive experience with the EOTech over the last several years, and I can tell you that I can be effective on a man-sized target at 300 yards or less with this particular sight. Now I can make shots further than that, but really precision shots I can do at 300 yards or less. But really under stress, it's probably going to be more like 200 or 150 yards or less. Getting your breathing under control, those kind of things are going to be huge in making shots out to 200 yards with a dot sight. The EOTech with that 1 MOA dot is a pretty precise dot, and I think it's easier to make those hits. Now I know what most of you are thinking. Most of you are going to say that, well, most of the conflict, most of the fighting is going to happen in less than 200 yards. And whereas that might be true, being able to make those accurate shots is going to be super valuable, and I don't think there's a single arena where that won't come into play. But I don't think anybody would argue that the non-magnified dot sight is going to be probably the most effective when it comes to fast fighting rifles. But now there is what I don't have represented here is the mid-range or the stopgap optic, which is going to be like your 1 to 4, 1 to 5 power scopes. And I'm really contemplating on building an intermediate stopgap rifle, because I think that's a nice little sweet spot, that 1 to 4 power scope. I think that's something that kind of covers all the intermediates. You can dial it back, especially if you get an illuminated reticle. I know Vortex has a PST scope that's a 1 to 4 power with illuminated reticle. I think that makes a huge difference, and I think you can dialing it back to 1 power. It might be slightly magnified, but I think that would be a really nice optic. What I want you guys to do is kind of roll in the comments down below. Tell me what you guys think about each of these. If you guys have a setup that you really like, let us know what it is, and kind of let us know the environment in which you live in, so that we can kind of see the context and why you've chosen what you've chosen. But so if I had to choose between these two rifles, I would definitely choose the magnified optic for sure, and that is because the environment that I live in, it's an open area. It's high desert. There's a lot of you can see for a really long way, and I think the magnified optic is going to be the most versatile optic in my environment, and so for sure, hands down, I would choose the magnified optic. But if I lived in a large city or in an urban area or an area that was highly wooded or densely forested, I would choose the red dot for sure, because you're going to you're not going to beat that in speed and accuracy in close quarter combat for sure, no doubt. Anyway, guys, hopefully you found that interesting. Don't forget to make a comment down below. Let us know what you guys think. If you military guys are watching, go and roll in and let us know kind of your setup and what you guys kind of go for. But don't forget to share the video with your friends, guys. It does help the video out. It does help our channel grow and helps us make more videos just like this in the future. Like if you like what you see. And as always, guys, thanks very much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. I have a question for you, and that is, what would you choose of these 3 rifles in a poop hits the fan scenario? Now, before you answer that question, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and talk about each one of these rifles individually and talk about their pros and their cons. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to break those pros and cons down into 9 categories. And I'm going to score each of these rifles between 1 and 3 points for their respective strength and weaknesses in that particular category. The reason why I'm doing this is to kind of give us a little bit better objective point of view when it comes to rifles. I mean, I know that everybody has their personal favorites,